Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel today, and welcome to the final part of my retrospective series, going back over the past TesseracT records in anticipation of the release of their new record Sunder, which comes out this Friday. So exciting. And today we are talking about my album of 2015 and my personal favourite TesseracT record, and that is their third record titled Polaris. Now, why is this my favourite TesseracT record? I'm not sure. I just think they combined everything that they'd done in the past together perfectly on this record, and they also took a massive step forward in terms of vocal melodies and in terms of just songwriting in general. So let's kind of get into that. This record kind of sees TesseracT refine the sound that they've been, getting better at through the debut of One and then through Altered State with a new vocalist. And this record also sees the return of Dan Tompkins, the original vocalist of TesseracT from the One album. And by further refinement of their sound, I think that on Polaris the band just got a whole lot tighter. They learned how to write songs a little bit better, learnt to not overcomplicate things and instead do things to serve the song. And they do that perfectly throughout this entire record. And the return of Dan Tompkins is a massive part of that, because the vocal melodies that he brings to this record are pretty incredible, especially for a genre of music that isn't really built upon stuff like hooks. And that's something that I've always had a kind of issue with the progressive rock and metal scene, is that they don't really focus on those hooks. Sure, this is meant to be a musician's type of music, but there's nothing wrong with putting something in a song that's going to grab someone's ear and really make that song memorable. And on this record, TesseracT definitely focused on that in terms of the vocals and even in terms of the riffs. The riffs on this record are more brutal than they've been in past TesseracT records, and the production adds a bit more impact to those riffs, and just everything came together perfectly on this record. And I felt like this record was going to be my favourite TesseracT record from the very first song, because they opened this record with Dystopia, which, I don't know how you can write a better opening track to a record than Dystopia. This song is, I think, probably my favourite TesseracT song ever written. And it's kind of a best of everything that TesseracT do. It's got those genty riffs, it's got really cool, groovy verses, the vocal melodies are absolutely incredible. It's got those fun lyrics, especially in the second verse. Everything just comes together on this track and makes it another classic TesseracT song, and then leads into Hexes, which is another great song. Leads in through that ambience that TesseracT have perfected throughout their careers. The ambience on this record is less in your face. On Altered State, you could tell that they really focused on the ambience to create a mood, and on this record they bring the ambience to the background a little bit more, but without that ambience there, this record wouldn't have as much impact. And this is something that you see a band like Architects do all the time. They use ambience to really create impact and make sections that may sound smaller without the ambience there sound like it's being played in a stadium. And on this record, again, TesseracT perfect that. Now let's talk about some of the songs that see TesseracT go in a new direction, and the one I really want to focus on is Survival. And that is because this is kind of poppy TesseracT, but done in the perfect way without compromising anything that TesseracT do. And again, that's all the way down to the vocal melodies. And this poppy kind of TesseracT sound is kind of mimicked all the way throughout the record, especially in songs like Phoenix, in songs like Messenger. All the way throughout, there's just vocal melodies for days. Even in songs like Utopia, there are just these little hooks, as I've said earlier on in the review, that just catch your ear and become these really memorable things. There is something that I really am starting to get sick of with TesseracT, and that started to happen to me during this record, and it's been throughout all their records, but on this record it really started to get to me, and that is the triggered snare. It's getting ridiculous now. You've got a terrific drummer in Jay playing drums for you, and you trigger this snare that is the same volume and has the same intensity no matter what the section of the song is, even in these quiet, ambient spaces in the songs. There's just this bang of a snare. Just massive crack, and it harms the mood of these songs, and I'm just really sick of it. All the other drums are sampled and triggered perfectly, but the snare, man, it's so distracting to me now, because for those of you who don't know, I'm a music producer, and as someone who mixes songs on a daily basis, it's just kind of unforgivable for me. And maybe it's just me, because I do have that ear for mixing, and it just gets to me as, you know, a producer, but I don't know how it doesn't annoy everyone. And honestly, I will say it didn't really stand out to me till I was talking to one of my audio teachers, and he was pointing out the snare, and then I've never been able to unhear it. So if I just ruined it for you, then I apologize, but that's just something that gets to me throughout all of TesseracT stuff now, but it only just came to a head on Polaris, and it's the only real negative I have for the record, and it's not even something that's exclusive to this record. Something I really love about this record is how the bass is really allowed to take charge in a large majority of this record, especially on a song like Utopia, where the bass playing is just phenomenal, but it's right at the forefront, and the guitars kind of take a backseat. I really like when TesseracT go really rhythmic, and that is something that's a really big part of their sound, but usually it's rhythmic with the drums and the guitars, and the bass is kind of just there to hold everything together. In this record, the bass is really brought to the forefront, and I absolutely love that. And the final thing I say is that I think 7 Names is the perfect way to close out this era of TesseracT. And what I mean by this era is that, as you've heard from the new singles from the record Sonder that is about to drop, TesseracT are definitely going in a more darker, menacing type of sound for this next record. Maybe that's not what's going to be for the entire record, but from the 3 singles that we've heard, definitely a lot darker and a lot more lurking, intense, dirty. And I like that TesseracT are changing things up on this next record, because they've done 3 records of this kind of thing, each one getting slightly better, and I'm really excited to see where TesseracT go on this next record. But 7 Names just kind of combines everything that's been great about TesseracT through the years, puts it into one song, and closes out this record on an absolute bang. And so this record is my favorite TesseracT record, and going into Sonder, I'm not expecting them to top this. I'm sure that it's a very big possibility, but for me, this record is just TesseracT at their best, and it's going to be hard for them to ever change that in my eyes. And going into Sonder, again, I said a darker, more menacing record. I'm really excited to hear how that sounds, and I'm really excited to hear new TesseracT music. But that's it for this record. What do you guys think about the record? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. And are you looking forward to Sonder, because I know I am. Can't wait to hear these new songs, and I can't wait to see TesseracT live once again. So follow me on all my social medias down in the description. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys on Friday to review the new TesseracT record. Alright, see you soon. Fresh Currents.